koutou katoa. We acknowledge that there is strength beyond ourselves when we work together to serve others. May we put aside our own personal interests, work with integrity and openness, striving to create a community that supports its people and the environment. Let us, in a moment of quiet, focus on why we are here. We give thanks for the wisdom of the past, look for opportunities in the present, and accept the challenges of the future. Tēnei te mihi, kia koutou katoa. Kia pai te haere. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to our extraordinary council meeting, 11th of June 2020. Firstly, just advising that we are live streaming and the meeting is being recorded. We have no apologies. We are just waiting for Councillor Simpson, who I'm sure will appear. And do we have any conflicts of interest? And we have no presentations in the public forum today. So announcements by myself. I want to take the opportunity today, now that we're in Alert Level 1, to say thank you, Napier. Thank you for the way you have worked together and looked out for one another, uniting against COVID-19. Like the rest of New Zealand, the months we have spent adjusting to a safer normal have been challenging. And it will take some time to feel we have met and overcome these challenges. Feeling anxious, stressed, or distressed now, and at times, is typical. There is no right or wrong way to feel right now, and everyone's experience is unique. These are uncertain times. Thank you to all those community organisations, volunteers, staff, emergency service workers, and many, many more who have kept our city running. Being at Alert Level 1 means the major restrictions on our lives are now gone. But we do need to keep those good habits and keep bearing in mind that we don't want to take any steps backwards. So keep your distance when among strangers is a good habit to keep, and of course washing of hands, sneezing into the elbow, and if you're sick, stay home. I encourage you to keep track of where you've been and who you've seen to help with contact tracing. The way you have supported each other these past few months shows community spirit is alive and well in our town. And I hope you continue to be kind and care for each other as we move through the next stage of the journey. Stay safe. We are in this together, and we are Team Napier. Thank you. Are there any minor matters not on the agenda? No. Announcements by management? Welcome, Councillor Simpson. It's fine. We will move on to our formal agenda item, and our first paper of the day is the Consultation Rates Postponement Policy, and I invite Gary to come and present. I guess it's predominantly focusing on any changes that were made to this original document that we saw. Thank you. Welcome.
Morena. Sorry, can you hear? Oh, it's automatic? Oh, sorry. Morena, Your Worship, councillors. Okay. So this paper was originally presented to an extraordinary meeting of council on the 21st of May. The original paper proposed the introduction of a rates postponement resulting from significant extraordinary circumstance as a way of providing broad-based relief in times where we are experiencing events such as this pandemic. It was agreed during the meeting that the report would be withdrawn for further work to reflect the concerns and feedback provided by councillors. So, in addition to a provision for significant extraordinary circumstances and other minor changes originally proposed, today we're also seeking approval on a wording change from elderly to older persons, approval to go to consultation separately but parallel to the annual plan, and approval for the consultation plan as well. As discussed during the last submission, the intention behind the significant extraordinary circumstances provision is to allow councillors to establish an informed framework for officers to manage a potentially large number of cases. Some other amendments of note include the removal of a requirement for older persons to have owned the property for 5 years. Also, postponements for farmland will no longer be written off after 5 years. The consultation plan proposes seeking feedback from the community from the 18th of June to the 15th of July. Ratepayers impacted by changes to farmland postponement will be consulted or contacted directly. Digital and print channels will be utilised for communication and engagement. That's it.
Great, thank you. Any questions? No, that was easy.
So I did the first one.
Do I have a mover for this paper, please? Thank you, Councillor Mawson. Seconded by Councillor Bogue. Thank you very much. Did you wish to speak to the paper, Councillor Mawson?
Yeah, thank you for all the work you've done there, Gary. And yeah, I think the extra sort of bits and pieces we want to adjust and removed makes it a lot more efficient and yeah, be good for our ratepayers. Thank you.
Councillor Bogue? Did anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Excellent. I will now put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. And again, we have Gary speaking to our second agenda item, being the consultation rates remission policy.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, as with the rates postponement policy, this policy was originally presented on the 21st of May. The report was withdrawn pending further feedback and consideration for ratepayers who do not reside within the area. Based on feedback, no further changes beyond the initial amendments have been made. In this report, we're seeking approval for the addition of remission for significant extraordinary circumstances within the policy, approval to extend significant extraordinary circumstances to penalties as well, and extend the application process for remission for special circumstances to authorised agents as well. In addition to these two amendments, approval is also being sought to proceed with consultation separate but parallel to the annual plan. And lastly, approvals being sought on the consultation plan too. So, as with the postponement policy, we'll seek community feedback from the 18th of June to the 15th of July. Digital and print channels will be used for communication and engagement.
Thank you very much. Any questions? No? Do I have a mover for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Crown, and seconded by Councillor Bogue. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Just collectively, the passing of our consideration of the changes to these policies, I think it's a really good example of the way that we were able to respond to the needs of our community when situations such as the pandemic arise. It helps us to be responsive and to recognise their needs at particular times. So it may just seem like a whole heap of words on a piece of paper, but when you're struggling to be able to pay your rates, then these policies will have significant impact on you, and will also allow us to be and remain financially prudent and responsible to the other ratepayers and community that we represent. So happy to support this.
Thank you. Councillor Bogue.
Just agreeing with what Councillor Crown said, these changes to the policies that we will send out for consultation are a response and a recognition of the hardship that our ratepayers, some ratepayers are facing, and it will somewhat reduce the income we get from rates. However, this is part of our program to help our city recover And I think it's very timely, and I hope that it gets good take-up and good understanding and response from the community.
Thank you. Yes, I do look forward to hearing the community feedback on this, and it is great that we've been able to recognise we need to have that flexibility and be able to respond appropriately to any significant event which affects our community, and how we can support them and provide them with any relief that may be required. So, did anyone else wish to speak to the motion? I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. And on to our third agenda item, which is, of course, the consultation document and draft annual plan 2020-21. And we have Caroline Thompson here to present this to us today.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll start by covering off the annual plan. I'll probably hand over to Natasha to take you through any of the changes to the consultation document. So this is the second iteration of the budget for 2021, and it incorporates the impacts of COVID-19 on Council's activities for 2021. Prior to the COVID-19 lockdown, Council was proposing an average rates increase of 6.5% for 2021. Once we entered lockdown, the budgets were immediately revised to include the COVID impacts, and this resulted in a net cost to Council of around 5.7 million after finding offsetting savings. So in other words, this equated to an additional 9.5% on top of the 6.5% originally proposed, giving a total of 16% in total. So for this annual plan consultation, Council is proposing to fund 6.74 million from reserves. This is the amount that is required to achieve a rates increase of 4.8%, and that also allows for COVID impacts. The options to fund the 6.74 million gap have been discussed with Council through a number of workshops. Council's preferred option is to fund the 6.74 million gap from reserves for the 2021 year, as opposed to loan funding, which would impose future rates impacts on the community. During the budget revisions, Council did look at the option of reducing the rates increase to zero, so in other words, a nil rates increase. However, this would have meant funding another 2.9 million from either reserves or loans, or cutting costs to the point where we face either cancelling or reducing levels of service, or not being able to continue with water and other important projects. And this option would also have resulted in a rates increase of around 5.4% the following year. The rates relief, rental relief packages and rapid response fund, along with the $1 million recovery fund, are included in the budget to help alleviate some of the financial hardship faced by the community. And some key points to note are that Council's Audit and Risk Committee have reviewed the annual plan financials and underlying information, and their feedback is that the response to COVID-19 is clearly explained, as are the risks and mitigations proposed. The annual plan will not meet Section 100 of the Local Government Act, which is to provide a balanced budget for 2021, and this is due to the impact of COVID on Council's forecast revenues. As required under Section 80 of the Local Government Act, Council carefully considered the unbalanced budget issue, with the most financially prudent option being to reserve fund the shortfall due to the one-off nature. Council is forecasting external borrowing of approximately 33 million for 2021 and is proposing to join the Local Government Funding Agency to access cheaper funding. Separate consultation will occur for the changes to the rates postponement and rates remissions policies, and also the proposal to join the Local Government Funding Agency. The COVID relief budgets included in the 2021 annual plan are a rates relief package of 350,000 available to both residential and commercial ratepayers who meet financial hardship criteria. a rental relief package of $193,000 for tenants of council property who also meet financial hardship criteria, and a recovery support fund of $1 million. The consultation topics for 2021 are the funding options to fund the 6.74 million gap, so funding either from reserves or loans, the recovery support fund of 1 million, water supply projects, safe chlorine, drinking water review, wastewater outfall, curbside waste collection, and the Napier Library Civic Precinct. And I'm happy to take questions and then hand over to Natasha for any consultation document questions.
Thank you.
And further to those comments, it's probably worthwhile for the council to just bear in mind that because we are in that state of flux between what we think is our best estimates around the COVID recovery and the COVID impact issues, between now and the time we get to finalising the annual plan, it may well be that there are some shifts and changes as we get a better window into what those impacts are likely to be and how they might impact on us. So that's so notwithstanding the consultation material that we have out there, we've canvassed all the issues, but there is kind of an understanding here that between now and when we get to finalising the annual plan, there could well yet be some additional shifts and changes just because of the very particular set of circumstances we find ourselves in.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No? And I think that demonstrates, because we have obviously traversed this document in a number of workshops and been working alongside staff to get to where we are today in the formal adoption of the paper. So I invite Natasha to talk us through the consultation document.
Kia ora everyone, through the Mayor. Actually, as you say, Mayor-wise, we have discussed this document at length a number of times. So today I was really going to just point out some of the changes that have been made since our discussion around the draft, and just point those out to you so that you're aware of them before you decide whether or not to adopt. So one of the main changes, which you won't be aware of, is that we've actually extended the consultation period by 1 day to the 16th of July, and that will include the concurrent consultations, the LGFA and the 2 financial policies. The reason being that we use an external platform for our feedback form, our submission form, and we were advised on Monday that it will be down for maintenance for 12 hours during the consultation period. So if people were wanting to put a submission in at 3 a.m, one morning, they would have found that they weren't able to. So we will put a note on the website when that is occurring, and we have extended the period by 1 day to ensure that we meet the 4-week period that you've already approved. So we have amended the consultation document to reflect that, and also all of our promotional material will be adjusted as well. The other main change is to the recovery fund. Originally, that had another name, but it has been renamed to Recovery Projects Fund, and that is really to reflect exactly what the funding is for. So it gives it a bit of clarity, and there's an allocation there of $500,000 for that fund, which was a bit less. And the reason being is that the recovery team have actually pulled together 2 funding streams into one, which will make the process a lot more streamlined for the community and business. And then the other thing you'll note is just some of the design work has changed from feedback from yourselves, just a better reflection of our community in terms of some of the photos and the ways that we've demonstrated the information, just to make it a little bit clearer. So I'm open for any questions, but they were the main changes from our iterations before.
Thank you very much. Any questions from councillors? Councillor Bogue.
Thank you
Councillor
very much. Great document. If a member of the public is reading this and they think, well, I want more information about this, and they're not interested in talking to a councillor or going on, you know, the different opportunities that there are for discussion, how would they find in the council papers, like for example the rates, you know, what was the process we went through to come to that decision? Where would they find that information?
Through the Mayor. So there is, quite rightly, a lot of supporting information for all of the topics that are in the document or are up for consultation. And there are, if people are going online to look at this information, there will be links to those documents, so council papers, reports, etc. And people are able to access hard copies by request if they need to do that. And there is a list of all of those reports and papers in this document as well.
Councillor Tapani, did you have a question? We can't hear you.
How about that, Your Worship? Is that better?
That's better, yes.
Okay. All right, question. Thank you. So, first of all, I need to acknowledge the work that our staff have done. It's been mentioned before. COVID has forced our staff to start and restart and then start and restart work on our annual plan and all of this work. So there's a huge amount of work here, and you're absolutely right. I want to acknowledge the effort staff have made to keep us informed. But because of the range and volume of information and the way we've been changing things quite a bit, there's a couple of questions I have around page 101 of the agenda, item 3. I know we've had a number of conversations around a number of items on this list, and I was wondering if one of the staff could elaborate for me. I see that we've got online, underneath reserves, line 3, coastal erosion. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines from the bottom, we've got West Shore erosion, then West Shore, Near Shore restoration, then we've got the Whakarere revetment and Harding Road. So I know we've done a lot of work in those spaces, but I've lost track a little bit of why we've got quite a bit of activity spread across this sheet, all focused around one area of our coastline. Could you remind me, please, one, why we've separated those items there, and the 7.5 million under West Shore erosion and inundation is a new one for me. I can't actually put any recall around that 7.5 million, and so I'd love to know what that 7.5 million represents and the timeframes that we've put that in place. Is that possible for one of our staff to be able to remind me of what they've informed us there?
John, are you available online there to provide some response to that for us?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. That was a very long question, so up here I might have to ask you to repeat aspects of that as we move through, but I'll do my best. So yes, we have a number of aspects to coastal erosion in our plan, and there's the Whakarere Ave is a specific project that we're obviously well aware of now and is nearing the point of construction. So that is a known entity. We have from our long-term plan 2 other line items. One is associated with addressing erosion on the beach, so to speak, of West Shore. And that's more about dry land type restoration. And we have another line item, which is the 7.5 million, which recognises that we have an ongoing requirement to address the deficit in, the deficit created by erosion and behind the surf break line. So it kind of differentiates out between dry land work and wet area work, if for want of a better term. So that's talked to 3 aspects, I think, and I believe you raised up one more, Api, is that Councillor Tapani, is that correct? And if you could just remind me on what page they're on, I've got a whole lot of different documents open on a single screen here.
You feel, John. So thank you very much. That has answered the bulk of my questions. And so all that sort of remains is those last three items on the bottom of page 101. I think you've addressed it, but the West Shore erosion and inundation, the West Shore near-shore restoration, the revetment I get. So is the near-shore restoration the same? No, it can't be the same as our coastal erosion. That's different, isn't it? Which is higher up on the same page. What's the difference?
Yeah, I don't have the right page here. Or maybe I don't have the right document open. I've got too many. Here we go. 101, did you say?
Yes, please.
Bear with me.
Thank you, John. It's just it was listed. I just needed an ability to pull that all together because it's listed about 4 or 5 times on that one schedule.
Yep. Okay, so we've got, this is in our reserves capital program. I believe you're talking to that spreadsheet page there. So the West Shore erosion and inundation remediation is looking at the dry land piece and recognising that there might be some significant capital investment required there to, depending on where our coastal hazard strategy lands, and also what the specific design solution might be. There may be some realignment of bunds, there may have to be relocation of assets or facilities, so you see a reasonable chunk of money there for capital investment in that space. Yeah, the West Shore near shore restoration is about the wet area, and that's a recognising that from time to time we may have to invest in additional dredging to place sand in the near shore, which is behind the surf break line, to supplement sediment in that area that might be removed through the littoral drift that occurs in the bay. And then Whakariri Ave revetment is a specific project line for this year. Harding Road erosion is also another piece of work that we do along Harding Road, and that's an ongoing piece of work there that we do separate pieces of work all the way along there to ensure that our revetment and rock protection there is up to scratch.
I've got just one more question for you on the same page, if you don't mind, please, John. Through you, Your Worship. Nearly halfway down that same list, underneath Maraenui Park Development, it's got Marine Parade Historic Skating Rink. Could you just refresh my memory as to what that is, please?
That refers to the unique concrete paving at the Sound Shell. So that was historically a skating rink, and we have recognised that you can't skate on it now. It's not smooth enough, and it would be nice to renew it. Originally, we had grant funding identified against that piece of work, but that funding wasn't forthcoming, and it wasn't seen as a priority to go and seek that grant funding. So it's been pushed out in our plan. That work would still be nice to do, but there's a number of heritage aspects associated with undertaking that work, so it's not as easy as simply pouring a bit of concrete. If you might recall, there's a lot of patterned and coloured concrete there, and that work would be required to replicate as close as possible to exact to meet the requirements of the heritage protection on that site. So that's a pretty big piece of work.
No further questions from me. Thank you very much, John.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, John. Any further questions from councillors? Councillor Crown.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Just wondering if members of the public want to get a hard copy of the annual plan document, where would they go to get that?
Through the Mayor, so we are making the hard copy available through the Napier City Council Customer Services Centre, as well as the Napier and Taradale Library. People can also phone to request a copy to be sent to them, and we are looking at a number of suburban locations which we will push out through our different mechanisms of promotion once we've firmed those up, so that people can easily locate them locally.
Thank you.
If there's no further questions, then I am happy to move the motion from the Chair, seconded by Deputy Mayor Brosnan. Thank you very much. I would like to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you to all of the staff. This has been a momentous effort to review, rewrite, redraft our annual plan, and do that in a very short space of time. So it is recognised and appreciated, all the work that has gone into preparing the draft annual plan we have before us today. And we have been impacted here at Council, and that's why the changes have been required. And we've also recognised that some of our community are facing tough times ahead, and that has been woven through the annual plan with packages designed to help businesses, community groups and residents to get through the challenging days that we have ahead. As was mentioned by Caroline in her presentation, we did consider a 0% rates increase, and to put it into context, the 4.8% rates increase that we are seeking feedback on equates to an average annual increase of around $105. I've been out speaking to community members already, and I've had feedback from a number of them saying that they don't have any concerns and they have the ability to actually pay that increase. And I'm feeling very, very happy with where we have actually landed in terms of having a far more targeted relief package to offer to our community to ensure that we really are helping those that need the help. And I very much look forward to the feedback from our community when they've had a chance to review the consultation document. So, Deputy Mayor Brosnan, did you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I'll just briefly speak to it. Obviously in support, just say I think the consultation document is a bit of a masterpiece in pulling together what has been such a changing beast. I really love how we said we will consult differently, and we're doing that through this, and I'm quite looking forward to our live chat sessions, which is a new thing for Napier, so I encourage anyone who may be watching to look out for those. I think that will be a great way to encourage participation by those who sometimes like to sit behind computer screens like we all do at times. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing the feedback, looking forward to our hearings as we always do, and seeing what the community think about this. I think we have really struck the balance. It would be impossible to say as a result of COVID that we haven't had any costs as a city. So I think this strikes the right balance between covering those and the intergenerational funding of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Price.
Just one comment. I'm speaking in support of it, and congratulations to a job well done by staff. I just want to reiterate the part of our shortfall, that it's that we're filling it with. I'd like to see it filled with reserve, as we have said in the with reserves as we've said in the plan, rather than borrowing to fill a shortfall when we have got money available to be able to do it. So well done, and thank you.
Thank you. Did any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Crown.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I feel like I'm talking lots today, but I looked on dictionary.com this morning to get a definition for engagement, because just reiterating some of the comments that Deputy Mayor Brosnan has said today, we're trying to do things differently, and I think that this annual plan, especially the consultation document, really reflects that. So engagement is establishing meaningful contact and connection and involving someone in conversation and discussion, and I really want to encourage our community to take up this opportunity and the number of opportunities that they will have to engage with us. We are them and they are us. So please tell us what you think. Take those opportunities and consult with us. It's a really, we're trying to do something new, so please meet us halfway and come and talk to us.
Thank you. I will now put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. On to our final agenda item for the day. Thank you, ladies. The statement of proposal to join the local government funding agency, and welcome Gary back to speak to us again.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so at the extraordinary meeting of Council on the 21st of May, councillors were introduced to borrowing options available to meet possible funding shortfalls in the near future. The councillors endorsed the option of joining the local government funding agency as an unrated guaranteeing local authority. This would allow council to borrow amounts over 20 million at rates much lower than those available from other sources. So the LGFA was established in 2011 with investment from the Crown for the sole purpose of providing cheaper funding for member councils in New Zealand. In this report, we asked Council to adopt the statement of proposal to join the LGFA and adopt the consultation plan attached to this process. So the statement of proposal contains key dates and contact details for the public to respond. It also contains a summary of the available options. The first part of the proposal contains the history of the LGFA and a detailed breakdown of how the scheme works. Costs and benefits are also included. The proposed consultation plan will run concurrently with the annual plan from the 18th of June to the 16th of July. Thank you. Parties with a special interest will be contacted directly. So, as with the other consultation plans, digital and print channels will be used for communication and engagement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. Do we have any questions? Again, a well-traversed document. Councillor Crown.
Good morning, Gary. Just for the public, would you be able to explain the difference between the interest rate that we can get through the LGFA and the interest rate we would get otherwise if we were to borrow?
Sure. It's a good question. And I'll just pull this out. So, when the proposal was put together, the rate available through the LGFA was roughly about 0.91%, whereas lending through financial institutions was approximately around 1.71 or thereabouts. So the difference, especially when you're looking at amounts up to, say, 33 million, are quite significant. We're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings through this option.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Brosnan, followed by Councillor Crystal.
Thank you, Gary, for the paper. Just a question. So we pay, I think it totalled up to be about 34,000 annually in fees to be a member.
Not quite. Sorry, 3.
It will cost council an estimated 26 in legal fees. Oh, so that's a one-off. And then our 8,000 annually to be a member. And so, if I'm correct in that, my question is, do we pay our membership fee regardless of whether we've drawn down any debt? I presume so. In which case, which year do we first intend to draw debt down from the fund?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So with those costs, you're correct, they're legal fees. So the first one, 28, it's an estimate on what we think it may be. And then we would have ongoing, say, trustee fees if we have legal advice on that as a member. So to join the LGFA, there are no membership fees at all. So all this does is by joining is it gives us the option to borrow if we do need to, which given there's a high degree of uncertainty at the moment around the longer term impacts of the pandemic, we may be looking at over the next 12 months, or if conditions improve, it may be beyond that. But the most important thing is to be prepared for any events that may occur, which is why we're addressing this now, rather than when we have to react.
Right, so sorry, just to clarify further, so no fees paid to the fund to be a member, but all of those fees noted are legal fees that we would engage ourselves.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Crystal. Oh, been asked. Councillor Bogue.
Thank you. Just through you, Madam Mayor, following up from Deputy Mayor Brosnan's question, if this is a totally 100% solid, reputable, organisation and process, why are we paying legal fees? Wouldn't this be a one-size-fits-all kind of join-up membership? I just wondered why we have to also fork out for legal fees.
Through the Mayor. So to join the local government funding agency, it's not just a matter of requesting funds from them. There are certain guarantees that we need to put in place, which would be over our rates. There are other commitments as well. So being an unrated guaranteeing authority also means we would have a potential commitment should the LGFA make a call on the councils to provide additional financial support. So through that, we need to establish contracts and make sure that our paperwork is all in place before we begin. The same thing as if you were taking out a loan, you would still run it by your lawyer before doing so. So that's really just to make sure that we're following due process and we have everything correct. So measure twice, cut once.
Deputy Mayor Brosnan.
Sorry, one more question, Gary. In a circumstance where we're working through, say, a long-term plan and we decide that we need to loan fund a particular item, it will be made explicit in that process to council what our options are, and one of those would be internal borrowing, one of those would be borrowing from this fund. So the decision to actually take out any debt from this fund will be made through council's normal processes anyway, is that correct? And this is just setting up the mechanism to offer that as an option?
Through the Mayor, that's correct. We'd always assess our options first and present that to council before going ahead with it. So this is just increasing our repertoire of options.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Do I have a mover for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Crystal. Did you wish to speak to this, Councillor Taylor?
Well, I think like most of the things that we've discussed today, this is a consultation process. We've already had it outlined today that we may need to borrow in the future, and in many ways this is establishing an option, and a cheaper option than many of the others. So I think it's a great safety net, and we don't know what the future holds, and if we follow correct processes, if we're lucky, we may not have to borrow the money, but at least it's sitting there and we remember and we have access to it. So I fully support it.
Thank you. Councillor Crystal.
To you, the Mayor, like Councillor Taylor, it's a sensible decision, I think, for us to do, to have this backstop, because, again, we don't know what the future holds, and if it's going to cost us less money in the long run, then that's a great decision for our city.
Thank you. Did anyone else wish to speak to the motion? No. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Excellent. Thank you. That brings us to the end of our open agenda, and thank you, Gary, for your 3 presentations today. I would ask for someone to move for us. Thank you, Councillor Price, seconded by Deputy Mayor Brosnan. And we will now move into public excluded. Did anyone wish to have a quick couple of minutes break before we, bearing